Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Ken. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be making a video in response to a few comments that I received on my Convert 80 Plus review. If you guys haven't seen that video, make sure to go check it out. So I received a comment on the video and it basically says, can you make a video showing how it's used in a session? I'm still confused how it connects with my Pro Tools Carbon. It doesn't have AES. Bought a bunch of ADAT, XLR at 1/4 inch. So I got another comment that says, dope video. It would be great if you can make that video on how to connect it with the interface and the Portigo too. First, I'm going to show you guys the connections, the back of the device, and then I can go into the DAW and show you guys how I route everything in the DAW. First off, if you guys enjoy this video or find anything useful, make sure to like, subscribe, check out the links in the description below. If you guys need mixing or mastering, hit me up, I'll take care of you. And I also want to go over the basics of routing audio. So there's going to be outputs and there's going to be inputs. When something goes out, it has to go in somewhere else. That's the main idea of how everything travels, how the signal travels. All right, basically when I'm mastering a song, I have the Apollo, my main interface, selected as the device in my DAW, whether it's Pro Tools or whether it's Studio One. I use Studio One, but what I do is the track that I have my pre-master as, I go line out. So the outputs of that track is line out. It's not going to my speakers, it's going line out into the Portigo, right? The inputs of the Portigo. Then it's going from the outputs of the Portigo into the inputs of the AD converter. And then the AD converter has multiple digital outputs. Now, the great thing about this AD converter is that it goes out of all the digital inputs at the same time. So you can actually send it to different digital devices if you want to. I don't always do that, but what I do is I connect an ADAT cable and go back into the Apollo. So I go ADAT out of the AD converter back into the ADAT input of the Apollo X6. So I'm actually capturing digital back into the Apollo X6. Now, if I was on Mac, I'm pretty sure in Mac you can create an aggregate audio device where you combine two interfaces to make one interface. Even in Studio One, you can actually select multiple, you can select a different interface for your output device and your input device, I'm pretty sure. But that's basically the idea of it. When you capture back the digital signal from your Apollo, your print track is the input for that track is gonna have to be the ADAT input. I'll show you guys all this. My rack is pretty up close against the wall. There's not really a lot of space, so unfortunately I can't really show you guys the back connections of these because it's just gonna be hard to see. I'm gonna go into the DAW and just show you guys the tracks, how I have it routed. And if you guys have another interface, you could pretty much just follow along because it's the same basic concept. All right, we're gonna go into Studio One. I'm gonna show you guys how I have my tracks routed. And the cabling is pretty simple. One thing I didn't mention is word clock, but I will get into that towards the end of the video. Let's go into the DAW. This is basically how my mastering template is set up at first. The reason why I'm showing you guys my mastering template is because it's just a good example of going out of the DAW into analog and then coming back into the DAW. So you're going to see this first pre-master track that I have. This is where I put my mix. And then, like I said, every track has an in and an output. The output is going to feed. And in this case, if I go to the I/O, outputs feed is line 3 and 4. So I take 2 1/4 inch, or if your interface has XLR, I take 2 cables. You're plugging them into line 3 and 4, the outputs, and then you go out of your line into the inputs of the Portigo. In my case, it's the Portigo, or whatever analog gear you want to use, left and right, right? You do all the processing. You're going to go out of your analog gear back into whatever device you're capturing into. In my case, it's the AD+, so I got to take another pair of XLR cables, go into the inputs of the AD+, and then once the AD+ is capturing, we have to get back into the computer. So you could use a USB if you're on Mac, like I mentioned before, setting up the multiple interface thing. But since I'm on PC, what I'm doing is I'm taking an ADAT cable. You can also do SPDIF. I've done SPDIF before, but I'm doing ADAT, so I'm taking an ADAT cable, plugging it into the back of the AD+, and then plugging it into the other end goes into the ADAT input of my Apollo. And as you can see, this is my UAD console, and because I have my mic hooked up into the Portigo going into my AD converter, you can see that it's coming in as my mic. So yeah, it comes back into the Apollo ADAT in, and then back to the print track. The print track is where you're capturing the analog chain, your AD converter. So what I would do is I would set the input of the print track to print, which is ADAT 1 and 2. And how you can change that is you go to audio IO setup and you make an input pair. I called it print for ADAT 1 and 2. So that's basically what I do. It's pretty simple. It's just, if you go out somewhere, you have to go in somewhere else. So it's just out, in, out, in. Now, what I also do is it's important to clock your interfaces they have to be clocked. So in my case, I have a Apollo and a AD+. It's a no-brainer to use the dangerous AD+ as the master clock for the system. It has a better clock. And something that I mentioned in my review is that the first time I opened a session with the Apollo clock to the AD+, when I clicked play, I heard a difference right away. It's really hard to describe, but I actually heard a difference in the bass. It was pretty incredible. Just the fact that there was a difference. It wasn't crazy, but I don't want to go off topic. In that case, what you do is you have to take a word clock cable. You have to go plug it into the output. So if you want your AD+ to be the master clock, you have to plug the word clock cable into the word clock output of the AD+, and then the other end of the cable goes into the word clock input of the Apollo. In my case, you want the AD converter to send word clock output signal to another device, so it has to go out of the AD+ into the word clock input of your other audio interface. In my case, it's the Apollo. There's times when you will need a terminator at the end of the word clock connection. I haven't done too much research on that. I don't use one, but the reason why I don't use one is because my Apollo has a word clock terminator switch that you can press. If you don't use one, it's possible that you might get like some sort of interference in the signal, but I'm not too sure on that. I don't want to give the wrong information. It's something that I even need to understand a little bit more. But the way I have mine set up, I haven't had any issues with it because I have that switch. Now, it's also possible that if you just have two interfaces that you're clocking together, you might not get that issue if you don't have the termination piece. And if you don't know what the piece looks like, just look it up. It's a very cheap piece you can get from Amazon. It's just a few dollars. But if you have three interfaces clocking together, I'm pretty sure that you will need that piece. When I get another DA converter in the future, I most likely will need to do that. But I got to do more research. That's something else to keep in mind, though. You definitely want to clock your interfaces together. You can't really just have both of them not clocked. I wouldn't advise doing that. But that's really all I want to cover in this video. I don't have that much analog gear to really show you guys the routing, but even with one piece, it's kind of the same thing. You're just going out one unit into the next. And with the AD Plus, it's pretty cool, like I said, how it uses all the digital outputs at the same time. But that's pretty much all I wanted to go over. If you guys found this video useful, definitely leave a like, subscribe. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave it in the comment section below. Check out the links in the description below as well. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.